like Kevin Bacon, man. I like he's branching out these things. The bake.
Kevin Bacon summer is what we're having right now.
Yeah, you're right. Holy crap. He's more prolific now than he's ever been, it seems like. He goes through lulls. When he made Tremors, he said he was in the darkest time of his life, and he's like, fuck it, I'll make this crappy, according to him, crappy horror film that nobody's going to see. And it's fucking great. I love that first Tremors movie.
Oh, yeah.
Can't wait until he starts doing conventions.
Yeah, maybe he'll get to that age, but I don't know if he. It depends. It's all about money.
He's still got that Hollow Man money. He don't need any conventions.
Oh my gosh, I'd forgotten how like uncomfortable that movie can be until we showed it last week to a crowd, and I was like, "Oh shoot, I have to skip over this rape scene."
Yikes, Kevin.
Yeah.
A lot of CGI dong in that movie.
There is. Yeah. But the effects still hold up, man. Those visual effects and the gorilla and all that stuff. I was like, holy crap, this looks great. Oh, well.
I don't remember a gorilla in that movie.
Yeah, it's like they use animals to test serum.
Man, it'd be fucked up if they turned that gorilla invisible. He'd be fucked.
I mean, they did. Could you imagine if they didn't have him like chained down? Like, I know where you're going with it.
Like forever. Just there's like some random, like Harambe is out there just fucking murdering people.
Harambe.
It's the ghost of Harambe.
Well, welcome to the Gore Club podcast, everybody. I'm Steve Vessell.
Deathmetal Dave.
I'm Ace.
Yeah, and tonight we're going to be doing a little tribute to the King, Roger Corman. Roger William Corman.
The king of the mockbuster, the pope of pop cinema.
That's right. The godfather of the new Hollywood and the king of cult. And I don't think any of those titles really, they don't say enough, man. He's such a, like, nowadays he'd be the king of influencers, you know?
Yeah.
Like what he started, where he came from and what he did. Rest in peace. But he was born in Detroit. He's a director, producer, film lover, once again. And, he and his wife made movies together that helped change cinema. He and his brother produced movies together. There's all kinds of things. You know, there's so many things that he did that we can't not talk about this guy. And I wanted to do a full episode because originally I was going to do it earlier in the month, but I thought we'd get overloaded with him, and not a lot of people made them.
As soon as I sat down and started making notes about this, I was like, God, you could do like just the entire podcast about Roger Corman. Like, there's so much information about.
491 film credits, producer credits, 56 director credits, 923 total credits with actor, director, self, music, and he's still got movies that are going to come out. I mean, he's the Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah,
People made a full-length documentary just about one movie that he made that never even came out, which is Fantastic Four.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, man. I guess today people know him more about his own remakes of his own films, and of course the Fantastic Four debacle.
Yeah.
But where should we go with this guy? Because this could be a 4-hour episode, or let's just knock it down to an hour and just blow him because he deserves it.
Well, for me, as far as like anything,
Dave's like, okay.
Well, I mean, for me is when I think about Roger Corman's like early stuff, I just think about all the Edgar Allan Poe movies.
Yeah.
Which was House of Usher, Pit in the Pendulum, Tales of Terror, Premature Burial, The Raven, Haunted Palace, which isn't really a Poe movie, but they called it a Poe movie.
It's one of my favorites of that series.
Yeah.
You're right. It's an H.P. Lovecraft story.
Yeah.
The Case of Charles Dexter Ward.
Yeah. Masquerade Death and Tomb of Ligeia.
I mean, you know, you've got Vincent Price who wrote on all those movies for the longest time.
Oh, yeah.
And we talked about all those movies in our Vincent Price episode.
Yeah, we did. And that, if you go back and listen to that, we were basically blew Vincent Price for an hour and a half, and he deserved it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Roger was born in Detroit. He was going to be an engineer, and then he decided, no, I'm going to go in the Navy. He did that for a couple of years, and then he's like, you know what? I'm going to work for an electrical company, and it lasted like a week, and then he quit that, and then he went straight into Hollywood. No, he went to Hollywood. Didn't work out because he didn't get credit on a film that he worked with Gregory Peck, and he was like, well, fuck this, and then he went back to school. And then ended up moving to Paris for a little bit, and then came back to Hollywood, sold a script for $2,000, took that $2,000 and created his own production company, Palo Alto.
Yeah.
bam.
Yeah, that's
so to say that he just is an overnight success is like that dude worked his ass off, and he wouldn't listen to anybody else. He was like, "This is what I want to do. If you're not going to respect me, I'll come back and do it my own way." And that's what he did. He never stopped. It's crazy, Roger Corman.
And you just think about some of the movies that he made, like produced. Like no major Hollywood studio would probably produce these movies if he wasn't attached to it somehow.
Right. I mean, he created the biker movie. He created, the punk rock movie, like Rock and Roll High School, Wild Angels, Little Shop of Horrors. You brought that up. I mean, how many times that's been remade? 3 times, and there's a musical, and they're doing something else now.
Barbarian movies.
The Barbarian, the Sorcerer movies.
Yeah, sorcery movies.
We could go on and on and on. How do we want to just break this guy down in succinctly? It's not how we break. Don't listen to me.
I think. Like, cause you don't want to just go through every single movie, but I think it's important. And Ace had brought this up: the people that he helped and the people that he brought out, the people that came from the Roger Corman School of Movies, right?
Oh yeah, Ace, you got a whole list, don't you?
Yeah. So there's as far as like
I love your list.
Noted filmmakers which this actually was coined by which I want to say. James Cameron coined this he was on the Terminator DVD on the commentary. He said he was trained at the Roger Corman Film School, which includes people such as him, Francis Ford Coppola, Martin Scorsese, Ron Howard, Peter Bogdanovich. I mean, there's like a whole list of people here, like Paul Bartel,
Jonathan Demme, Silence of the Lambs.
And that's just like filmmakers. And then there's like a whole slew of actors: Jack Nicholson, Peter Fonda, Bruce Dern, Charles Bronson, Dennis Hopper. Yeah, Ron Howard, who I think the story of Ron Howard was like, he was like, if you be in one of my movies, I'll let you, he was trying to get in directing, so I'll let you direct a movie, or you can get the experience of directing something, just being a couple of these movies for me that are terrible.
Yeah.
And
Eat My Dust came out of that, though.
Yeah. So you have like, there's the movie poster of Ron Howard with like a Confederate flag hat on for some reason, which I never watched that movie, but I was like, what is the background on that? But yeah, like all the other people.
The Carradines.
Yeah. Sandra Bullock, Robert De Niro, David Carradine. And that's actually, I wrote down, I said, they told Ron Howard, he said, if you do a good job in this film, you'll never have to work for me again.
Damn, that's a weird deal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but like you just listed off a lot of people. So that was one of the things that Roger Corman could do. He could find the right people. I mean, he made a lot of movies. And he produced a lot of movies, 400 something. So you're eventually bound to find somebody. If you have 416 movies, you're bound to find one star out of it. But the fact that he's got so many stars that just worked for him and did little things, and they were just on set or they were in his movie, and that's what's really special about him. Like, he, as a producer, would know, like, we want to do this or we want to do this. And he had his little spin and he had to say, and people listened to him.
Yeah. He had an eye for talent and he knew how to make it flourish.
Right. And he wasn't just one of these people like, well, that's not marketable. Well, he didn't really give a shit about that necessarily. Sure, he wanted to make money.
He did later in life, and then you realize he was wrong. He's like, fuck. Okay, back to my own company. Because he signed like a deal with Columbia, I think, and it didn't work out. Like a 3-picture deal, and he was like, "Yeah, I guess it's time to relax and make some money with Hollywood." And they're like, "Well," he's like, "Fuck Hollywood, I'm going back."
He's like, "I want a giant slug in this movie," and they're like, "Nope," and he's like, "I'm out."
Yeah, I mean, then he's got his wife as a partner for so many movies, like like the Slumber Party Massacre movies, and like she helped make Chopping Mall happen.
Yeah,
she was the one who wanted to get more kid friendly, so she did like Space Raiders, stuff like that. New World Pictures, Millennium Pictures, Palo Alto. I forgot there was another. What's that? New Concord. He's helped produce and create all these new companies, and holy fuck, man, what a life!
Yeah, and most of the time when we talk about, like, if we do like the whole episode about one person, it's either an actor or a director. But like in this case, he's not even, the things that he's most known for, he didn't even direct or act in. It's always like, like at least everything that I enjoy from him is all stuff that he just produced.
Yeah, his direct producing credits are just phenomenal. And then you go like, say, step back a little bit and you're an executive producer. That's even crazier. Because that's the ones where he's like, yeah, I'll help you guys do that, or I'll oversee a little bit of this. That's an executive producer.
Yeah.
But like, wow.
And like a lot of them, I didn't even realize he was uncredited in the like he wasn't even credited in Slumber Party Massacre, or Deathstalker,
Sorority House Massacre, those movies as well.
Like, which are probably those are the two of my favorite things that he is connected to, which is Slumber Party Massacre and the Deathstalker series. Like those both are the big parts of my childhood.
I wonder if he was the one in Deathstalker 2. He's like, we can make this really quick, really cheap. We'll just reuse a whole bunch of footage and get those glow wrestlers. Let's get those ladies in here.
Hire the guy from Chopping Ball. He'll do it.
Tim, Joe Dante, all those guys. He helped jumpstart so many people's careers and believed in them. And then they went on. Either they went on to bigger careers or they came back because it was like home.
Yeah.
And when you see the words like Roger Corman Presents like on a DVD or a VHS, you're like, I'm going to rent that. But the thing is he's got so many. It's not just like, oh, these are schlock horror films. There are schlock sci-fi
There's
films
some bad
too.
ones. Yeah,
but
the Not of This Earth remake is hilarious.
I'm just saying, like it's all over. He wasn't just a horror producer,
Not at all.
He made science fiction. He made dramas. He made comedies. He made that Munchie movie.
Munchies, yeah.
Yeah, he was. That's what I made a joke earlier about him being the king of the mockbuster. But like he was very good at like striking where this thing is. While it's hot.
Oh hell yeah!
I mean, even up through the '90s, like he made Carnosaur right after Jurassic Park came out.
Saturday the 14th, he did that one. His wife did that. Did the Nest. We talked about that last Halloween.
Battle Beyond the Stars, Star Wars, Piranha, Jaws. Then you just have like Star Crash, Galaxy of Terror, Terror Within.
And she was a part of the whole nunsploitation wave. She was like, let's do this. Let's do some of these. And like the Pam Grier movies with Jack Hill. Roger Corman made those movies happen. It's like, fuck, man. I love it.
He was like, this dude never stopped working. Like, one of my favorite Roger Corman things is if maybe I missed the credits at the beginning of a movie or something, and I'll be watching it, and then all of a sudden in the background, I'll hear the Battle Beyond the Stars theme song, which shows up in Wizards of the Lost Kingdom, Fantastic Four trailer, Deathstalker 3, Galaxy of Terror, Forbidden World, like same song in all those movies. And you're just watching like, oh, it's a Roger Corman movie. They reuse that song again.
He would reuse bits and pieces from his film all the time as well.
Yeah.
Especially like that one, like the Galaxy of Terror. There's all kinds of like scenes and stuff pulled out of there. And that's a remake. And that's Galaxy of Terror, but the one you just talked about?
Forbidden World?
Yeah, that one, Forbidden World. What's the one that's like the Seven Samurai remake? We just mentioned it.
Battle Beyond the Stars.
There you go. Thank you. That's the remake of Seven Samurai because he was the producer who put so many foreign films into the U.S. market for Kurosawa, for Fellini, Truffaut.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody had seen that kind of stuff, and he was like, well, let's sell it over here. So that's really cool.
Well, I mean, that pretty much speaks to his legacy. Yeah. I mean, you said he was working until he died. I mean, he really was. They showed on, they did a Joe Bob's Last Drive-In special from the Jamboree a few years ago, and they showed that not too long before he passed away. And in there, he's talking about like, oh, well, he drops that he has that they're remaking Little Shop of Horrors. And, that's why Joe Dante wasn't at Wonderfest this year because he was busy working on that.
Wow.
So the amount of movies he made, not just made, but was able to introduce to everybody.
Fast and the Furious. He did the first one.
The original one in 1950.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, Paul Walker?
Yeah.
Family?
They licensed that title from him. So his hand was in those movies. It's great. Death Race movies.
I mentioned, when I mentioned Fantastic Four earlier, just to put this in a nutshell because it's a very long story, but basically the Marvel needed to keep the rights to Fantastic Four because they wanted to make that. And so the only way they could do it was hire somebody, or not Marvel, Sony, whoever owned it. So they basically, in secret, hired him to make this movie for $1 million, and then he did it. And then they were like, at the last minute, told all the actors, well, we're not actually going to release this. Sorry about your luck. And then they got to hold it until they made 2 more really worse movies about the Fantastic Four. Probably 3 more because I've never seen the only good Fantastic Four movie is the one that was never released, and I got the bootleg of it.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you can find it at conventions. Yeah. I always see it next to Star Wars Holiday Special.
That's funny because we had to show, I was curating movies at one of the original Vet City Cons that they have here in Kentucky, and I couldn't find a movie to play that was family friendly for the conventioneers, and I found a copy at the Fantastic Four. Roger Corman had played it, and people were like, what the hell is this?
Dude, it's just
cosplayers
impressive.
walking around being like, hey, can I talk to you real quick? What is this?
Yeah. Dude, it's impressive, and it just got out because somebody took a print from. They found a print like somewhere where somebody was editing film. They're like, "What is this?" And they're like, "Oh no, this no." Somebody stole it, and then it just got copied and copied and copied. But I love it just because it's so. He did that for $1 million, and it's like the cheap part of me enjoys how thrifty Roger Corman was.
I think it fits in that time, that era when you had like the Punisher movie that wasn't like super huge with Dolph Lundgren, but it kind of fits in that little nutshell of
with the Captain America movie.
Oh God, with the guy from The Howling 2.
Yeah, what was it? What was it?
Yeah.
What was it? Cannon that was supposed to make Spider-Man?
Cannon was supposed to make Spider-Man.
Yeah, in like '86 or something like that.
We got the TV movies instead.
Yeah. Well, that's like how Kanan was supposed to make. They made the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, but they ended up using all the sets from some other like movie that never got made. All that kind of stuff's always super interesting.
So the only Marvel movie from the '90s that's worth watching is the Corman one.
Corman Fantastic Four.
Yeah,
that even speaks loads to it. I mean. They must have seen what Howard the Duck did and were like, no, Corman's like, I can do this.
I can do this. Yeah, you own that Blu-ray of Howard the Duck, though.
I do.
Yeah.
It's great.
It is great. Linnea was going to be that when we talked about it when she was on the podcast.
Yeah.
Well, she was like, that was going to be me. I was like, Linnea or Leah Thompson? Fuck.
Definitely had a bigger name on the Leah Thompson. Yeah. He was like, do the right moves, sorority babes. I don't know what the order of when those came out, but that might not have been the same time.
I remember watching, I think it was Showtime, and Roger Corman went back and remade a bunch of his movies for them, and it was called The Roger Corman Presents, and it would be whatever. But they did Not of This Earth, Humanoids for the Deep, Piranha, Death Race, not Death Race, Bucket of Blood, what was it? The Wasp Woman, I think.
Yeah.
And I remember, I mean, you don't know their names, but I remember that. And then I would go back and find Carnosaur.
Yeah. Which I have Carnosaur 1 and 2 on VHS.
You don't have 4?
Don't have the 4th
No.
one.
But Bucket of Blood, I mean, that's it's fucking beatnik murderers.
Yeah. They used the same people and made Little Shop of Horrors in like 3 days or something, 2 days and a night.
And like a lot of these old ones are always those ones that if you go to any store and it's like 50 great horror movies and like 45 of them are directed by Roger Corman produced movies.
Beast from the Haunted Sea.
Because he knew how to get them out and he knew how to make money, but he would make these movies to make money quick so he could put more money into other movies.
Yeah.
He was smart about it.
Yeah.
He was smart about it. It was an investment to him, and he knew what he can get out of it, and he knew what worked. He knew what would sell, especially during the VHS era, right? When you didn't have to rely on the theaters, and you can release them straight to fucking VHS. I bet you most of his production credits, a majority of them are going to be between 1980 and 2000.
Oh yeah, his production ones. Yeah,
absolutely. He did the opposite of what Kanan did. He actually knew how to make money.
Or like the Golden Globus guys or whatever. Yeah. Oh my gosh. You're wearing a Kanan hat.
I have a Kanan hat. I support Kanan.
I love them. I love all of those companies because they all made the worst ninja movies that I love. They made all the worst like slimy monster movies. Like I love it. The bad sci-fi movies and the good ones. So yeah, Roger Corman was a part of my life before I even knew who the hell he was.
Oh yeah. So. Well, that's like to show how much people that worked with him, especially in Hollywood, where you see like everybody, he seems like just hates each other, but like everybody loved Roger Corman so much, like they give him like he was in Godfather Part 2.
Yeah,
like he's on
he's a lot of cameos.
Court, and he's in The Howling. He's in Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah,
like how many like Oscar movies? He's been in 2 different movies that got Oscars. Or Philadelphia, he was in that.
Yeah, those are directed by Jonathan Demme, who he helped start. Yeah,
Apollo 13, like all these movies, and there's like, hey, put Roger in there. Like he was a good friend of mine. Like
he just has that look and that sound.
Yeah,
we have to do this.
But to be a guy who's a filmmaker in Hollywood. Like whenever you think about filmmakers in Hollywood, you don't necessarily think about good people.
You think about Maxine.
Yeah. So to have like somebody like Roger Corman out there who like multiple people through different decades are like, hey, just a good guy. I've never heard anything bad about him.
Yeah. There are some bad stories, but they're very small. They're very few. It's about like him having to add sex scenes or whatever to get a movie sold or go through the drive-in circuit or whatever. Those kind of things. That's the only thing.
He knew what sells. He'd been doing it.
And his wife did a lot of that stuff. They were like, oh, fuck, okay, let's put a boob in there.
Yeah.
But give me a slug.
Yeah. Give me, oh, yeah.
That's how I could always. You can always tell somebody like a person who has like a legacy because they'll be successful in like multiple decades, and like they have like a career throughout like the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and like still be relevant. Like in that thing is very impressive and very hard to do. But in whatever art form you're doing, like how many actors you only think of them like as their 80s output, and then the 90s came around and everybody forgot about them, or like all of certain directors, his only good movies came out in the 90s or something, or stuff like that. But like he was still relevant all the way until he died. I mean, even through the 50s, the 60s, and like through the 90s at least, he was very relevant. Like
he knew his craft. He understood how to make a movie, make it cheap, make it work. And there was like the saying like he's never lost money on a movie. I mean, he disputes that, but like you get what they're trying to say.
Oh yeah.
Midas touch,
the Corman touch.
But and like I said, he's still got movies coming out. If you look at his IMDb page, there's still a slew of like 5 or 6 movies that maybe even 10. Who knows? There's probably more on there now.
He's got it in the bank, the Corman bank
that he already was producing, or like I said, Little Shop of Horrors. I mean, what do you think that's going to make when it comes out?
Oh God, I hope it's market. Well, depending on how good it is. I mean, I've never seen a version of that I didn't like, even the musical.
Boo.
Anyways,
whoa, you've been really quiet the whole time, and then you're like musical. Boo.
Yeah, it's an instinct inside of me.
Damn, even I like that movie, and I hate musicals.
Yeah, but that is weird though, because Corman decided to take out the original ending of that, where the Audrey 2s just eat everything.
Everybody gets fucking killed in the original of the remake. With,
because
as
a fan, I'm like, that would have been a cool ending. But as a money man, he was like, maybe not.
Yeah, and they spent a lot of money on that. Yeah. Like that scene looks amazing.
Yeah, it looks really good.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah,
but you can find it on the Blu-ray or DVD.
Yeah, you're right. So Corman lives. He will always live in our memories, just like Road Warrior.
Yes. Let's see, but there's not much. I mean, we could go on for hours and hours and hours, but the main point is he knew what he was doing. He did what he loved.
Right.
And he made sure to help people that he saw prospect in, right?
Yeah.
If he saw that you could do something, he'd help you do it.
Yeah. Especially if it's cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah. And to get that many actors like and start their careers like, because that's, I mean, no telling how many movies you think he sold that like after an actor like got big, he was like, oh, Jack Nicholson's big now. Let's go back and re-release this movie and put starring Jack Nicholson real big over the top of it. And then we'll resell it to somebody and then they'll buy it and be like, he was in this for like 5 minutes or something. So many of those old movies, it'll be like starring somebody and you're like, oh, wow. And then you see it and it's like,
I can't wait to watch The Terror. No.
Oh yeah, dude, I wrote. You could do a whole podcast just on The Terror and like the story behind that.
I think they used the set from Pit and the Pendulum or something.
Raven.
The Raven. Okay.
Yeah, they had a weekend before filming was scheduled to end, and basically just filmed enough, and then like threw together a movie and. Like it's
I think they filmed Boris Karloff like in a day or 2 or something.
So yes, it was like somebody said, write me a bunch of scenes for Boris Karloff in this castle.
So they did a Spookies.
Yeah, they said. And then like literally, I wrote the quote down. Read like this guy was like, "Well, what's the story?" And Roger Corman said, "No story, just a lot of castle. In and out of doors, very mysterious."
The Corman touch, baby. Yeah. I've talked about when it comes to like say Lloyd Kaufman. Lloyd Kaufman to me is like a different generation of Roger Corman, and he's still going. And they're very similar with their distributing styles, how they would see talent and how they use talent and how they sell movies and have to do deals with Hollywood, but then they still fuck Hollywood. So yeah. I love it. And he maintained that. And he actually directed one of my favorite films when I was younger. It was called Frankenstein Unbound. And at that time, Hollywood really never made an accurate Frankenstein story on film. And that was the closest we could get at the time.
Oh, well, yeah.
And it's really good. So that's my favorite Roger Corman movie of the 90s. Do you have a question for us, Dave?
Not really.
What's your favorite Roger Corman movie?
Oh God! See, this is fun because you could just
reverse Dave to you.
You could literally say any movie, and like there's a you could say any movie from the 80s, and there's a chance that he was involved.
Like Godfather 2.
Yeah, I mean technically, yeah.
For shitty reasons, Deathstalker, because it's so bad, and actually that's being remade.
They're remaking.
They're remaking that, so we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah.
I don't know, probably Death Race 2000. It's a very generic answer, but that's probably it.
It's so good.
It is very good.
I mean, he created the first Cannonball movies. Those all became like a big thing.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
For me, actually, I mentioned Slumber Party Massacre, the Deathstalker series, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
Definitely was one I rented as a kid because I just saw the back cover and I was like,
Dungeons and
some hot
Dragons.
women, swords. I'm all about it.
Yeah.
Chopping Mall, which he was a producer on. Another one I found out of a movie that I like that he's credited as Julian Parnell on, which is Elsa, Tigress of Siberia.
No shit. It's one of the Elsa sequels.
Yeah, so he was a producer on that from IMDb, from what I've read on IMDb.
Yeah. So Elsa, or like, she's like the female Nazi torture lady.
Yeah.
For those who don't know what the fuck Elsa movies were.
Yeah. This is the sequel to She-Wolf, where she has escaped that, and now she's living with the Russians in Siberia or something, and gets found out. But yeah, no, that's probably one of the better ones of that series. And I was
Nazi exploitation movies.
Yeah, so and he produced that one. I didn't even realize that.
I saw a woman as a cosplayer of Elsa at one convention in the early 2000s. Like, oh wow, that's beautiful, it's amazing. Got pictures, and now like I can never post these.
Yeah,
I'm standing with a Nazi lady, and nobody's gonna know what the hell the context is.
Oh yeah, it's like I can explain.
Don't worry, guys. It was a Trump rally.
Yeah, holy crap! I think mine would be the Haunted Palace.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
It's one of my favorites. It's always been. I love that movie so much. It's my favorite Vincent Price movie. It's that whole. We're in a studio with a fog machine kind of look. It's great. I love it. I love the lighting. It's very Baz Lugosi looking stuff. It's just that's my favorite. But Roger Corman, you saved our lives.
Yes.
And you deserve to be remembered, and you will be.
I thought you were going to say The Haunting of Morella, that 6 Feet Undercover.
No, they're on tour right now. Okay, Dave, I guess get us the hell out of here.
Thank you for listening to the Gore Club podcast. Rest in peace. Rest in
Roger.
pictures. Roger Corman. Small Roger. So thanks for listening to us. You can find us wherever you're listening to us and on Anchor FM, Breaker, Google Podcast, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Castbox, Verbal.com.
Com?
Okay.
I didn't say it.
YouTube, Facebook,
Yeah.
the Instagram.
There's a couple other websites.
There's things, but you're already listening to us, obviously, so you found us. So thanks.
Yay!
Thanks for that. Bye.
This is the Gore Club podcast with Steve Vessell, Ace, and Deathmetal Dave.